Okay, so I welcome you all to the Gobinde Mukande introduction webinar. And this is a standing movement meditation, which means it's a series of arm movements that are put together with a very simple body movement. We're not actually taking steps, but we are moving, shifting the weight, the hips, and the spine together with this arm movement sequence. And this has been done in a very organic way, such that there is a real flow, an energy flow that moves also through the chakras and through the different levels of our existence and through a cyclic pulse that occurs through the chakras and through the energy field. So I would like to explore this and explore how the way we're working with this particular mantra through our progression through the chakras is particularly aligned with this autumnal season and also with the experience of letting go of the old, also on a psychophysical level, such that we can release old patterns and open ourselves to be primed with new patterns in a way that is very much aligned with the organic cycles of nature. And in aligning with nature's cycles of birth, life, death, rebirth, we can also flow more easily through the phases of the year and use those phases to also help us lighten our load and reset as we come towards the winter solstice and pass through that threshold into the new cycle of the new year. So in a way, we're also going to be working to release old stagnant feelings that are no longer serving us. So old patterns that may be also in the form of traumatic imprints. And trauma has a very wide range. It can be, from the experience of wars or stark abuse, but it can also be very apparently minor things, not getting attention when we are needing it and wanting it in a very particular moment, and that like jolts our system. And it is this jolt to the system that is putting our organic flow out of its balanced procession. It puts a kink in our general motion of growth. And it's rather like a plant that is perhaps has its trunk or its branches cut, and it has to find a new pathway to grow, or a seed that falls not directly in the soil, but perhaps on the side of a cliff and has to kind of grow outwards and then upwards, or a trunk that has been split in two and grows up in, it's these different pathways where the unexpected happens to us and we have to adapt and find a new form of patterning to continue to grow through life, but through that, new possibilities are opened and perhaps unexpected ways are discovered. And so it's about also releasing the stagnation and the resistance to these events that have caused us to have to navigate unexpected and initially experiences that have jolted us, okay? So that we can grow and flow with the continuing cycles. And this will help us also regenerate on many levels, you know, mind, body, and in our energy fields. Okay, so what I'd like to do is to just take a moment with you to come into this present moment of coming together and to feel the presence of our group, and from there to go a little bit deeper into this theme together. So as you sit, feel yourself with your sit bones rooted in the ground. So you feel the pressure of the ground beneath you, supporting and holding you. And you connect through your breath to those sensations at the base of your spine. And growing up through that, you feel the germination of your shoots coming up through your sacrum, lifting up the base of your spine, lining it more vertically with a slight pelvic tilt forwards. And the root is growing a bit stronger and thicker as it moves up through the abdominals. As you engage the abdominals, you feel the shoot being reinforced. And we breathe long and deep into the root, the base of the shoot. And we feel that moving up further through the diaphragm, through the chest. And it's expanding now, branching out. And that shoot has now got its internal vascular system, a bit like the 𝑘𝐸𝑑𝑟 and the 𝑃𝑖𝑛𝑔𝑎 with the 𝑘𝑠𝑖𝑙𝑢m and the 𝑝│𝑢m, where what's been drawn in from the roots flows upwards, and what's been drawn in from the leaves is flowing downwards. And we connect with the left and the right sides of our spine as we feel ourselves on the left side drawing in and up the energy from the roots upwards towards the leaves, and as we exhale, we feel ourselves receiving the sunlight and allowing that to flow down from the crown down the right side of our spine, through the sit bones, into the roots. Inhaling up the left side from bottom to top, and exhaling down the right side from top to bottom. And we continue up through the neck, elongating upwards, growing upwards. And now the branches are growing buds, which are growing up through our crown. And the tip of the bud is just touching the tip of our crown, our fontanelle. And now as we inhale, we just draw the energy up from the root through the center of the spine, the Sushumna, up to the tip of the bud. And then exhale, and we feel that bud opening out around the head and around the neck into a flower. So as we exhale, the bud opens out into a flower. We inhale and draw the energy up to the tip and the crown, and exhale into the flower. And we feel how that is related to our expression. Our facial expression, our vocal expression. And that's unfolding around the shoulder girdle. And perhaps you can even feel a fragrance, smell a fragrance emanating from that. And then as this flower develops, it's perhaps pollinated and fertilized, and the leaves or the petals of the flower then begin to wilt and fall away, leaving the knob of the fruit at the tip of our sternum, the base of the sternum, just this point here. So the flower was here at the throat, but the center, the base of the ovum of the flower is at the tip of the sternum here. And this is where the fruit is going to grow, in the chest area. And so now as we exhale, gradually this fruit is growing in the chest area. And that's aligning with the lungs, which are bringing the life force, also the solar energy, into the fruit, the heart. This is our inner truth that's ripening gradually to the fullness of our human expression, the gift we have to share. And as this fruit ripens, we become aware of also all the many other fruits that are on the same tree, and we can begin to sense ourselves here in this group with many other fruits hanging on the same tree in the same moment of ripeness. And gradually they're ready to be harvested and fall from the tree, the fruits, and they're picked up and they're eaten, they're devoured. Or they're not picked up and they begin to decay as they lie on the ground. But one way or another, they are digested, whether it's by human, animal, bird, or the soil itself with the help of the insects and the worms. The fruit is digested until its seed or core is laid bare. And all the old beauty that it carried is recycled, released, composted. And at the same time also the leaves from the trees are falling to the ground, and the trees are drawing their sap inwards to their core, to their roots, to sustain them through the winter. And so we experience the mulch, which is like the intestines of the earth digesting the old vegetation, nourishing the roots and drawing the seeds into the earth, dormancy. And as this is a digestive process, those seeds we can imagine within ourselves coming into our stomach, into our intestines. And so as we inhale, we're drawing the energy up to the crown, and as we exhale, we're exhaling down through the flower, through the fruit, through the decay of the esophagus, and into the stomach and the small intestine. And in the small intestine, the enzymes are interacting with the seed and its coat, priming it, stimulating it, activating it, so it will be ready for rebirth. And also, as we reach the still point of the year, winter solstice, and then the light begins to return, the seed under the earth is also reactivated, prepared for the new cycle. And in the early spring, at the beginning of February, the seed is expelled either from the animal's body, excreted, or it may surface again from under the earth as the earth freezes and then thaws, contracting and expanding, pushing the seed up, so that at the beginning of spring it may be picked up, the seed, and carried through dispersion of the winds and the waters to find a new resting place by mid-spring, to be implanted, where it will then germinate and again put forth roots. And so as we inhale up to the tip and exhale down through the bud and the flower and the fruit and the digestion and the excretion of the seed, there's a pause. And as we begin to inhale again, the seed is finding its new resting place. And it's germinating just as we begin the inhale again. And feel that cycle moving through your body. And then inhale. And exhale. And release your breath. And breathe naturally. And come back to here and now. And I'd like to share with you. Let me present to you, first of all, the mantra of Gobinde Mukande, which, as you may know, comes from the Sikh scriptures, and it was written down by the 10th Sikh Guru, and it can be found in Jap Sahib, towards the middle end of the Jap Sahib. And it describes 8 spiritual qualities, 8 qualities of spirit or of original being. And these are Gobinde Mukande Udare Apare Haryang Karyang Nirname Akame. And the meaning is the sustainer, Gobinde, the liberator, Mukande, the uplifter, Udare, the infinite, Apare, the destroyer, Haryang, the creator, Karyang, the nameless, Nirname, and the desireless or the unattached, Akame. And you can see here that I've correlated them to the chakras, with the 8th chakra being related to Gobinde, the sustainer, that connects the earth and the heaven. And then moving down through the chakras, 7th Mukande, 6th Udare, 5th Apare, 4th Haryang, third Karyang, second Nirnami, and first Akame. So interestingly here, we see a downward flow through the chakras. And normally when we approach yoga, it tends to be an approach to work up through the chakras from the first to the seventh, as we try to raise the energy, raise the vibration, raise our awareness. But actually, the natural flow of nature, well, it's cyclic, so it moves up and down, but we don't always take into account this downward flow, which is the very natural process of that bud at the seventh chakra that begins to open at the sixth chakra and flowers at the fifth chakra and gives fruit that then, well, between the fifth and the fourth, it gives fruit. And then that fruit begins to decay and is ingested and is reactivated for a new cycle. And it's then dispersed through the waters and the winds to then take root again for the beginning of the next cycle. And then this upwards flow is really that growth of the shoot with the root as it then in the late spring, early summer grows upwards with its bud back to the sky when we have that fullness of summer solstice. So yoga, as we tend to experience it and practice it, is very much focused on that part of the summer solstice, late spring, early summer, upwards drive to the crown. And it's not always so focused on the rest of the natural process of the flowering and the fruiting and the releasing and the decaying and the repriming and the sending out of the seeds again. But this is also very important for embodiment. It's bringing our awareness inwards to the center, to the core, in order to reactivate the next cycle. And in the process of decay and release, we're also enabling ourselves to move through to the next cycle. So I wanted to show you also this. Some of you may have already seen this image, but this is basically that image of the crown at the top, and then the flower, and then the fruit that gradually grows out of it, and that is then harvested and eaten and goes into the stomach and the digestive system and is then passed out, and the seed then travels until it's planted and begins to germinate, and then we have this upwards growth back to the summer solstice. And you see I've correlated this very basically to the 4 seasons. So we have spring here, where we have the germination at the base. We have, going backwards, winter, which is the digestive area. We have the autumn, which was when everything was decaying. And we have the summer solstice at the top. So the downward cycle is actually this natural progression where we're going summer, autumn, winter, spring, and then it goes, whoop, jumps back up to summer again. So here again you see, sorry, I didn't have time to finish all the chakra pictures. But we see here the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, seventh, eighth, moving upwards together with this correlation with the different stages of the vegetation and its development, which is actually developing downwards. Okay, budding, flowering, fruiting, decaying, seed dormancy, and dispersion. So this is the direction of the sequence of movements of Gobinde Mukande. It's going downwards with this process of physical decay. Now, interestingly, with the process of death, what happens is that, you know, whatever creation was living through the previous cycle, whether it's a fruit or a human life or a cell or a breath, its form becomes disaggregated, which means the elements that were joined together to compose it become decomposed. And as we know, there are, in the way we look at it in yoga anyway, there are 5 elements, and earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And with the end of the cycle, those elements are disaggregating and returning to their original form. So earth to earth, water to water, heat to the atmosphere, air, gas to gas, and ether to ether. And the etheric part of who and what we are is like that subtle prana, that life force. And that returns into the ethers, the subtlety. And that's what we kind of experience as our deeper self, what we might call our spirit or our soul, that then ascends. And, you know, then the gases go out into the air and the atmosphere, and the heat is dissipated, and the water goes down into the waters, returns to the waters, and the earth back into the soil. So while spirit is moving upwards, because that's, you know, that high subtle vibration that goes beyond the gravity of the earth, everything else is kind of moving downwards. So the elements in nature are kind of spiraling down through death, while spirit is tending to spiral up. So we're focusing on this disaggregation, on this release of the old patterns that were, you know, at the different levels of our development, and where perhaps, you know, there was a kink in our development in the previous cycle, and allowing that and seeing where that's going to take us as we go into the next cycle, because each cycle progresses based on wherever we left off with the previous cycle. To a certain extent, it carries a summary or a condensed solution of what the previous experience was. Much is released, but like a very essential blueprint of what was experienced and known in the previous cycle is carried through into the next. And in fact, part of the process of death is also discerning, like in the small intestine, what has to be released and what we want to keep and assimilate for the new cycle. And so we'll be working on that level with our course as we go through the 6 weeks. And so the structure of the course is that we will be working gradually, week by week, down through the chakras and through the different plant stages, and particularly looking at the process of decay and digestion and repriming, so that we can move into rebirth, but very much aligning it with this period of the year, which is about the decay, that's going to take us up to winter solstice, because winter solstice is the moment when we will complete our practice, and we will meet again for that, to celebrate the end of the practice together. Yeah, so also this practice works very much with spiral movements, with twisting, with like cyclic movements and figures of 8, which speak to the way our body is constructed. And our body, our fascia, our joints, our bones are all constructed in such a way that they facilitate our movement, our organic movement, to be in spirals and waves. And when we begin to move in this way, it's like the whole of our neuroendocrine system begins to interconnect through the fascia and begins to speak, communicate from one part to the other. So like old stagnant energy can be released into the system and also discarded. And, you know, we can begin to assimilate what is the essential. We can begin to make lots of connections within our system that help us to process and integrate the information of the previous cycles, to discern what is essential, and to also have the ability to release the old stagnation. So there's very much a twist in the spine, which I'll show you in a moment, that goes like this. And between the vertebra of the spine, as you probably know, there are growing out, branching out, just like the branches of a tree, the nerve processes that come out through the central spinal cord, and which then go to nourish all the different organs in the body. And, you know, when we have blocks in our spine, that also correlates to the blocks of our energy centers, of our chakras. And there we have, you know, like the stagnation of certain parts of our body, that the information is not being communicated properly to, or that spirit is not really able to come in and embody with awareness. And so this is like a movement that will gently open that area, open the communication through the vertebra of the spine and the nerves that branch out into the rest of the system. And at the same time, it's very much a grounding practice, because the way we're shifting our weight as we stand is helping to root us like that tree. And in the meantime, the arms are cyclically moving through the whole space in this kind of wave-like spiral pattern that is helping us to experience this downward flow through the chakras and then rising up again to the top. So it's like this continual shedding and returning and shedding and returning as we release and communicate through the fascia stimulated by the movement. Okay, so that is the basic principles upon which this celestial communication, standing movement meditation has been based. And many of you who've studied with me and who know the reserved area on the Shakti Dance Academy website, you might have seen from some of the very old videos from about 15, 16 years ago when I was pregnant. That'll be 17 years ago now. And there is actually this celestial communication of Gobinde Mukande, but I've never really unpacked all of its juice, as it were, and all of its subtleties, because it's one thing to, just follow a movement sequence, but it's another thing to really catch not just the subtleties of the imagery of the movement, but also the subtleties of the movement itself. And even when I practice old celestial communications, I discover, with new awareness, new subtleties of how to refine the movement and discover how to bring it into a greater flow. And much of what I kind of channeled in the early days was, just very intuitive, inspired movement through feeling the Shakti flow through my body. And it's over the years that I've, revived and reflected on the movement sequences and unpacked them and discovered new layers. So that's what I want to share with you on this occasion, and finding how old movement sequences can be unlocked to offer whole new worlds of insight and experience. Okay, so what I'd like to share with you in these last few minutes are two exercises. One where we are really experiencing the rooting of our position, and then the other where we're experiencing this twist in the spine with greater awareness. So we come with our feet hip width apart and the knees over the toes. And we're going to be shifting from one foot to another, allowing our weight to first of all be in the center, with the feet hip width apart and parallel to each other. And we sink down with the knees over the toes, slightly tucking the tailbone under, not too much, but just so that the spine is straight. And then from here, we begin to shift the weight to one side so that this knee has more pressure on it, going down through the foot into the ground. And then coming back to the center and shifting to the other side. Okay. And we're going to, as we shift, slightly turn the hips. So we're shifting from one side to the other, and it's kind of like in a semicircle. So we're slightly going up, actually, as we come to the side, going down as we go through both knees, and then up as we straighten with the leg that's in front, and the leg that we've got the weight on the knee is bent. So we're shifting down through the middle and slightly twisting as we come to the side, as the hip looks towards the leg that's straightening, but we're sitting on the back leg. And we're going to inhale as we go to the left and exhale as we go to the right. And now we're going to do what would go from here to be a bit more of a forwards figure of 8 with the hips. So we shift to one side and turn. So we're like that, and then we shift forwards and turn. Okay, so rather than being just like going in a half circle as we were doing, we're going to go in a figure of 8, a forwards figure of 8, which means after we're here, we shift onto the leg that was straight, and then we bring the hip around. Okay? And there's a sense that you're bringing like a tail feather from behind you to go. As we shift, the tail feather comes forwards. Shift forwards with the weight and bring the tail feather forwards. And as you do that, what we need to feel is this shift of the weight beneath the feet and how you push off the ground ultimately. Push as you go forwards to that straight leg. Push. Turn with the hip. Push. Turn with the hip. Okay. And you're bringing your arms around initially. And now allow your arms to twist around you as you do that. And you see that there's a kind of a centrifugal force that occurs as we do this. And that's being picked up by my little jacket here. And so just as my jacket is flying out to the side as I shift the weight, and I'm very aware of my navel as well, as being the center of this twist, this spinal twist. And I'm inhaling left, and I'm exhaling right. And depending on how much we push, that movement can become bigger or smaller with the arms. And as you move, feel first of all how your sacrum is moving, being massaged. And you can have your arms moving around the base of your sacrum. And then moving up through the lumbar region to your navel. And feel that core. And that's where we're really moving the energy from. And then through the heart center. And up to the throat. And then to the third eye. And then up to the crown. Still breathing, inhaling left, exhaling right. Bring that down again. And then down further to the heart center and to the navel and to the sacrum and to the root. And turn and breathe. Inhaling and exhaling deeply. And bending the knees down and inhaling slightly up with the arms and exhaling down as if you're painting a wall with your hands as paintbrushes. And releasing. And just shake up and down. As you breathe long and deep, just gentle pulsing shake. Inhale through the nose. A little less shaking as you inhale, and then as you exhale through the mouth, a bit of a bigger shake. And then a little less as you inhale. Imagining the energy going from the root to the crown as you inhale. And then inhale, drawing the arms up. And exhale. We'll repeat that one more time. Inhale up through the space, through the aura, and exhale down through the chakras. Last time. And release. And then inhale and exhale, and we come back again together. And as you breathe, consolidate yourself. Okay, so that was a very brief and gentle preview of a little bit of the basics, the basic mechanics that underlie the whole movement sequence of the arms. And as I say, the arms will be creating expressive movements that express the mantra, but in such a way that it's flowing with this twisting sensation. So it becomes very meditative, very trance-like, and also very liberating. We use a lot the centrifugal and centripetal forces, you know, the inward holding force, which is the centripetal force, and the outward releasing force, which is the centrifugal force. And what I'll be doing week by week is also like taking some of those movements that are inherent in what the arms are doing at the different chakras and expanding on those movements to create little exercises that in and of themselves have a specific specific effect for that chakra. So you're getting like a little series of individual exercises that are reflecting just snippets of movement that are within the whole sequence of the mantric choreography. And we'll be going like more deeply into how each of those exercises are stimulating your system, so that when you also come to do the movement meditation, which is about 7 or 8 minutes long, you can be really bringing your awareness into the effects of each of those movements, and also bringing an awareness to how and what you are releasing, with an awareness of how you're doing that in tandem with nature's release in this season. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this which you've probably seen on the website, I think. Yeah, this is the overview. Yeah, so the first week we'll be working more with the grounding and the breath work. And the second week we'll be working to really connect with the plant cycles and the yearly cycle. And then in week 3, we'll be working with the aura, and so the upward growth and the flowers bud. And so that's the aura and the 7th chakra. And then we'll be working with the 3rd eye and the throat chakra as flowering and fruiting. And then with the 5th week, we'll be working with the heart chakra and the solar plexus, which is the fruit's decay and its core. And then with week 6, we'll be grounding through the root and the sacral chakras with the germination and the roots and shoots that bring us back up to the beginning of the cycle again. Okay, so we will have a dedicated course page to this with short videos. My intention is that for each video not to be longer than about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes each, and 2 of them per week. So that's 12 5 to 10 minute videos over the period of 6 weeks, which it is more or less between the 8th of November until the 21st of December. And we will also have a social private group on the website where I will show you and invite you to hold a diary so that we can also like cross-fertilize each other. You know, when you compost different insights together, there's a kind of a microbial exchange which helps to also stimulate each other's process of decomposition, so that we get a rich humus soil for the fertilization of the new cycle. And we'll also have a WhatsApp group, so we can have like more logistic messages apart from the diaries. Yeah, so that's basically it. We're going to be beginning on the 8th of November, which is in 2 days' time. In the evening, I will do a welcome live webinar again, where I will show you the actual movements of the sequence for those who've signed up and entered the course. And then from then, it will kick off with also the first video for the first week, and they will unlock gradually as the time progresses. So yeah, that is the offer at this special price of €19. And if you have any more questions about that, now is the time